Hi, this is Karen with My I'm Possible Dream. And I'm in a dream place right now, and it's called Progressive Field. And this is where my son Alex has always wanted to be. So he's here with me, but we're here with Curtis Danburg today. And I'm excited about this for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're going to be having the Walk for Autism here in about 10 days. Second time that we're doing it when Alex and I are in charge of entertainment. And if you can make it here after your early morning appointment on Sunday, I hope that you can, because the entertainment is going to be fantastic, Curtis. But in the meantime, you and your family sort of have a dream. You have a son who has some challenges, and I'm sure those weren't the dreams that you had when you got married and talked about having a family. So how do you face your personal challenges, and especially how does your son face those challenges?
I think you see time and time again that, while they're challenges, they're opportunities. And, our son Tyler is a blessed, very young, bright individual, and sometimes it's a blessing and a curse. His brain operates differently than mine and my wife's and most people. And we've been able to hopefully find ways to channel that. And one of the offshoots of this is he has Tourette's syndrome, and it's something he's battled. We found out when he was 6. He's a perfectly fine kid, and all of a sudden he developed tics, and it's evolved over time. And we've done a lot of it. We haven't stopped trying to find ways, just like anybody. I mean, the kids are the epicenter of your life, and we find every way possible to find a way to help him and support him. And for him, it's music and sports, and he's very sensitive young man. He's very caring. So it's channeling opportunities for him. And he got to broadcast his first game this year from the booth. And
oh, how wonderful!
With the help in conjunction with WTM. And so it's things like that where it gets his mind off of things. And when he's in that moment, when he's playing his drums or he's talking baseball, nothing can distract him.
So when he's playing drums, does he play the drum with John J. Adams as well?
He has in the past, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
He picks up drumming from anybody. So he loved to play. Stampers that used to just closed on the west side in Fairview Park would have open jam night, and he'd go up and play. And he's got this. He can remember any song from any era, and he can jump in and just start playing. So it's a pretty unique gift. And that's the way we look at it, is what he has is a gift, and we have to celebrate that and find ways to lift those gifts up, as opposed to focusing on the negative and the things that he has to overcome.
And that certainly goes with Alex's initiative, My I'm Possible Dream. Impossible means I'm possible. Years ago, and I'll go back probably to when you probably were in school, and even further back when I was in school, if we ran into somebody who had Tourette's syndrome, we would have just thought that they were being abusive, obnoxious. They wouldn't take direction properly. Nobody would want to truly try to find out what was going on. And your parents or my parents probably would have said, get away from that child. But today we understand that it is neurological. It's out of their control. But if we can channel it, like you said, with your son, if he's playing the drums, if he's broadcasting, if he's doing what he's passionate about, he can get around that. And we saw the same thing with Alex as well. If Alex doesn't have a focus for the day, he can get really withdrawn. And sometimes it still scares me to this day, with him almost being 25 years old. So Tyler is how old now?
12.
12.
Heading into 7th grade.
Wow. So. Middle school. That's tough time.
Yeah, and you talk about, how people react, and we've been very fortunate. He's got a good core group of friends and stuff. But over time, and now getting into those, teenage years, it's difficult. But, finding those ways to kind of get through it, and the support system through school has been tremendous. And even exterior, outside of that realm, people, we were just talking about the Bachman family. Right. And Justin Bachman is a huge role model for Tyler. And it's little things such as Lisa's saying, always carry a little note card like a business card in your pocket and just hand it to somebody that if they're having an episode, instead of going and confronting or making Tyler feel sensitive to that, just hand the card and walk away. And that card explains what he's going through, and that was probably one of the best pieces of advice they gave us. So when you're on the airplane, instead of making a big deal and saying, hey, everybody, my son has Tourette's, you just hand them the card and you move on. And then all of a sudden it focuses them and gives them the education of what you're dealing with. So
that is wonderful.
It's little things like that you pull experiences, you pull recommendations, you pull advice from other people that have been through it that helps bring you along. And I think that goes back to, I give Tyler a lot of credit. He recognizes that, and any chance he can get then to pass it on, he feels that that's his kind of duty to do so.
That is terrific. Now, you also have a daughter, and how old is she?
She's 8. She's heading into third grade, third grade this fall.
And they both went to the All-Star game this summer.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, how'd they like that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun to share. I'm living my possible dream. I wasn't blessed with the skills to be a Major League Baseball player, but this is about as close as I can be. And to share that bond with my kids, and of course I met my wife here, so the Indians are the fabric of my family, really. And to see that passion come out, especially now that even Hannah's up to 8 years old and going to the All-Star game and sharing those experiences and what I've been blessed to see firsthand was very special.
Now, if anybody knows anything about working in a front office with a Major League team, we know that you put in lots of crazy hours, especially during the season. But as you mentioned, you are finding time for your family. And just a couple of weeks ago, you and Tyler did something very, very special that caught my eye. You were riding bikes somewhere. Tell me about that.
So we got involved last year with Velasano. It's a partnership with really the Cleveland Indians are the presenting partner of it, courtesy of Paul Dolan. It really starts there. When you think about work-life balance, the Dolan family sets the standard of how it enables us to not only do our jobs and understand and empathize that we're here a lot, but to find ways to spend time with our family. But anyway, the Cleveland Clinic has this great fundraiser to find that swift cure for cancer, and that's what Velasano means, is swift cure in Latin. So we got involved in that, and we last year volunteered at one of the rest stops, and Tyler's like, I want to ride. I want to make a difference. And he pushed me, and I was like, well, sorry, buddy, but you have to be over 18. Well, this year they came up with a fun ride, a 12-mile ride that kids 10 years or older can participate in.
12 miles on a bike?
12 miles on a bike.
Ooh, okay.
So he said immediately when I told him that, he's like, we're doing it. He's like, we're going to train together. We're going to get ready for it. And it was one of the greatest days to share that. And we had two of the buddies, Jim Rosenhaus's son did it, and Bart Swain's son did it and rode with me. And when we got done, they thought, that was awesome. We want more. Next year we're doing 25. And between Tyler and I, we raised $2,000 with a lot of help and support from a lot of people. And I think, and that was right around the time when, Mike Aviles came out with his daughter, Adriana.
She's throwing out the first
pitch tonight, battling leukemia, 4-year-old. And, Tyler's like, I'm doing this for Adriana. And he went to Mike, and Mike ended up tracking him down a couple weeks ago, seeing that he shaved his head and said thank you. And so it's fun to see just that. I talked about that sensitivity and that, even knowing his challenges that he sees, he wants to help others. And as a parent, that certainly makes my wife Danielle and I very proud.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I want to throw in is Mr. Dolan himself even got his head shaved by Mike Aviles. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that.
A few months ago when this first came out, Mr. Dolan said, I want to do this for you, and he got his head shaved. And the reports were during the deadline, the Indians would not trade Mike Aviles for the reason of, they want him here for his daughter, which, again, it shows credit regardless of what the haters say. And yes, I've been on the fence, but I know how it runs here. You guys care about your players. It creates an environment that players want to play in.
They're still human beings.
Yes, they are.
And they're dealing with human being type things. They're dealing with real life. And to see that with Mike, and Paul did that, and cancer's a passion for his to help find that cure. He was the driving force behind our support of Velasano, and he rode 200 miles in that. So there's the furthest you can go is 200 miles, and he did the full 2-day deal to support. So it's passion for him, and that's extended, throughout the whole organization. But for us to say, hey, we understand that baseball is a business, but there's also a human being, and we're not going to trade him. And there was a lot of interest in him.
Yeah.
but he's got too much going on.
Well, we certainly, applaud all that. And we applaud the fact that at the end of the month, I believe it's on August 30th, you are going to host a special little boy for us. Alex and I had the privilege of meeting Quinn. And back in February, Quinn had he had a dream. He wanted to be a rock star. And some people put that into motion. And there was a big parade for him, and they made him into a rock star. Little Quinn is terminal. He has cancer. But little Quinn he's fighting that battle, and so is his family. But they're living each and every single day. When Quinn was going for his treatment at University Hospital at Rainbow and Babies, they would pass by the ball field every time on their way. And Quinn always asked his mother, "Why are the lights on?" And she used to tell him the lights were on for him. And when she mentioned that, Alex asked Quinn, "Have you ever been to a baseball game?" And he said, "No." So we contacted both you and Mark Shapiro, and we said, "What could you do?" Not only did you give him a basket full of gifts, which is incredible, but now you're going to host them on August 30th. And I also want you to know, when we shared that with the Akron Rubber Ducks, they also are hosting him the week before.
That's awesome.
So Major League Baseball is just absolutely wonderful. And it doesn't make any difference if the team win or loses to these kids. It's a place to go. It's a place to feel alive.
And it's so sad to hear all those stories. And we hear these stories almost daily, and it breaks your heart. But then you take a step back and realize the impact the Indians can make in not only that child's life, but the family's life. And, even personally, you take we've dealt with different things, but there's many families dealing with a lot worse things, such as cancer, that there aren't enough words to describe it. So the fact that I think sometimes we're so close to it, you forget the impact that we really can make and do make. And so we're going to have Quinn, be a part of the kids starting lineup and run on the field and feel like a big league ball player for that special moment. We do that every Sunday for our Key Bank Kids Fun Days, and it'll be even more special to know the story behind Quinn doing that on the 30th.
Well, we are just so delighted. And before you and Alex are talking sports, I have to tell you that Alex's first passion was baseball. It started back when he was about 2 or 3 years old. I was traveling at the time, and he was watching baseball with his dad on TV. And the first game he was watching was the Cleveland Indians, of course, playing this team from Baltimore, which he thought was named the Oreos. So, of course, he loved the game because, Oreo cookies.
Who doesn't like Oreos?
Yeah. But he's become a baseball fanatic, as you know. So us having the walk here at Progressive Field just makes it even feel so much at home, because through Alex's struggles, baseball has been his calming force. And you and Mark Shapiro and many of your staff members have been not just welcoming to Autism Speaks, but you've given Alex a home away from home. And we can't thank you enough. And I know Alex is biting on the bullet there. He wants to talk sports because so much has been happening, and we know that you're going to win against the Yankees again tonight. So, Alex, I'm going to switch seats with you, and you take over.
Yep, and this is going to be the fun part because,
thank you, Karen.
Folks, if you follow me on Twitter at TheSportsGenius7, you know one thing. I want answers like this entire seat, but I'm not going to ask you all the tough questions. I'm reserving them for a certain someone after the year. But 2 months ago we were talking. We were sort of hopeful. And then a lot of bad things happened. What do you think has been really the part that really has hurt us this year?
I mean, it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but the one thing that I go back to is think about the first week of the season. When Yan Gomes went down, he's kind of the lifeblood of the center. He's the catcher. He's managing the pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
He's that that middle of the order bat. I think when he went down, it changed the dynamic, and I think it got us off the path. And unfortunately, it was a path that we were never able really to get back on for a long time until we made the recent trades. And this past week's been positive. So I mean, there's so many different things that happen, but there have been bright spots. The pitching staff, Jason Kipnis bouncing back from his tough year, but it's one of those things you think about Jan. It's almost similar to Jason the year before. He got injured. He tried to come back to help his team and never could really get in that consistency that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and what I want to tell fans is, and with you here, I want to see if you see the same comparison, because I read Terry Pluto's book, Dealin'. It's a phenomenal book. If it's out in bookstores, get it. And I think it's chapter 15. It talks about the 06 season. There are so many similarities. Yeah. I think Antonetti said in there, the numbers said we should have been something else, and even Chaparro even admits this in the book. It just didn't happen. And you have baseball. And that's why I love this game, because unlike other sports where you could possibly rig it, you can't rig this one. I had someone on Twitter ask me, because I haven't really told many people this. I've now joined TripleThreatCLE.com as their Indians writer.
Nice.
And he asked me on Twitter, okay, we're 6.5 games back. Can the Indians really make a run at the wild card? Here's my answer to that, and I want your perspective. Crazier things have happened. This is not out of the possibility. We're in an American League with teams that really should be rebuilding. I mean, everybody's in the American League. It's unlike anything. So basically, I want your thoughts on this. Do you see a real possibility of this happening, of us possibly making a run?
And I think what you just said is exactly what I've been saying the past couple of days, is stranger things have happened. The game of baseball, you can go out and say, okay, we're going to spend all this money and make this happen. It doesn't happen that way. It just
Dodgers.
Miraculously things play out the way it is. And, you go back to 97 and Jim Thome Sox, and we had a terrible year, and all of a sudden you get on a roll. So I don't think anybody in that clubhouse is ever going to say we're not stop playing just because we traded a bunch of guys away. If anything, that youth that we've been able to give opportunities has really kind of energized the clubhouse and galvanized the clubhouse in a lot of ways. So, and right now we're 5.5 and only 5 games out of the loss column. So I think right now it's one day. You hate to do the cliches, but it's one day at a time. It's have fun again and play. And we haven't seen smiles on their faces all season long until this past weekend.
And one of the things, and you don't have to comment on this report because I read it yesterday. The report surfaced that there were players after Nick Swisher's trade who weren't really sad because he was just over exuberant, maybe a little bit too happy, and clubhouse chemistry is one of the biggest things. And you just said it. You really haven't seen him playing with smiles. They're messing around with Andre Knott during games, which I think is the best sign to me as a fan, saying that's a team right there. They're just having fun. They're being little kids. And that's what this game really is. It's about being little kids, being who you are. And you're starting to see with the hitting. Yes, last night and the night before there was a little bit of anemic hitting, let's just say. But they're finding ways to win. And the one thing I've said, and I want your perspective on, it doesn't matter how you win. It's if you can find ways to win. It doesn't matter. As long as you find ways to win. And what would you think, I'm trying to find the right words for this question, because winning ugly, it's still a win.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that kind of a thing? Because past 2 nights are perfect examples. You win the 15th, I think it was, on a weird play at first that a Gold Glove first baseman couldn't get. And then yesterday, you barely survive again. So what's your take on the way we're winning currently, which is finding ways?
You're right. It doesn't matter. A win's a win. So, you can look at it, look in the box score, and you still can't, if you look at the stats, you can't see how it plays out. And that's where the beauty of the game is, watching the whole game play out. And Terry Francona deciding last night to bring Cody Allen in to face the Meteor with a 5-out save.
Yep.
People aren't going to pick that up if you're not watching the game. And
yep.
that was a key. I mean, instead of having that bridge between the starter and Cody, he went straight to Cody. And that was a difference in us. In a one-run game last night, we were able to win. So it sometimes it doesn't look pretty. The game of baseball we played is about pitching and defense. That sexy, grand slam or three-run homer isn't the way we play our game. It's about, relying on our pitching staff to keep us in the game and finding some timely hitting. And that's been the crux of this year is timely hitting, especially with bases loaded. But we still found a way to win. And at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses.
Yep. Do you think Cody Allen was snubbed from the All-Star game? I thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly had the stats that were deserving of it, but there's a lot of people that were.
Let me just point this stat out to you. 2 teams combined had 4 relievers make the All-Star game.
Yeah, one was the Royals.
Well, the Royals, okay, you can
with the manager is Ned Yost, so you get that.
But the Orioles got their lefty, and I think it's Britton, and Darren O'Day. They go to the All-Star game. I remember I was on the Triple Threat CLE podcast show, and I said, this is ridiculous. Cody Allen deserves a spot. I mean...
But it comes down, especially with that, Baltimore at that time was playing a lot better than us. Yep. And if there's a tie, it goes to the teams that are playing better. So, but Cody, certainly deserving. He hit a little dry spell, but for him to step up last night was fun to see.
Now, you were there for the All-Star game. Were you there for the Home Run Derby?
I was. It's awesome.
What do you think of it?
Fantastic. So very lucky for many years, 7-8 years. I represented the American League PR staff and worked All-Star games. So I sat through, 8 home run derbies, and the worst was Detroit. So Bobby Abreu.
He just hit
22 homers that lasted 50 minutes. His round
I remember.
Was 50 minutes.
I remember.
And from now me being a fan, watching it this year where it was timed. I mean, all the circumstances led out to be it was a best case scenario where everybody that won came from behind except for one batter in Pujols. But just the structure of it made it fun. In fact, it was, and I never thought it would be, that the Derby was more entertaining than the game. And I love the All-Star game. It's one of the greatest things of the summer.
See, my dad was so skeptical of it, and so was I, because I was like, you could really hurt yourself doing this. But after, which one was it? Was it Peterson who made the comeback? It was the big comeback, the first one. No, it was Frazier. When Frazier made the comeback, I said, I'm sold. I like this. This is different.
And then you had the home crowd.
Well,
but even take that out of the...
Only Ryan Sandberg is the only one to do it.
Right.
I mean, Tommy hit 0 here. I mean, that was just crazy.
Jimmy does too.
Now, speaking of the All-Star game, it sort of looks like Cleveland's trying to get one back because you guys just revealed Phase 2 of the renovations to Progressive Field. Tell us about those.
So when we set forth, thinking 3 years ago with our kind of master plan, we knew it would come in phases. So Phase 1, the most dramatic phase, occurred last year, the right field district and the kids clubhouse and the corner bar, and it's been amazing to see how that's impacted the fan experience. So Phase 2 was then extending almost that right field district and the look and feel and the signage and the brick all the way from right field to left field. So the entire main concourse will now be updated with that same kind of feel. And one of the things you saw in right field is opening it up so people that are in the right field concourse can see the game. Yep. We're going to try to, attempt to do the same exact thing behind home plate. We're going to build a club for a select group of season ticklers, but it's going to be all glass. And by removing the 200 level section of seats, it's going to open up the concourse to the game. Yep. So if you are walking from right field to left field, you can actually continue to see the game and it's going to be a lot more light. That was one of the things from our research and seeing new ballparks like PNC and others like that really have that circulation is important to our fans. So we're going to have that. As well as continue to celebrate our history and find other ways on that main concourse to talk about the fact that we were a charter member of the American League going back to 1901.
Are we secretly trying to get the All-Star game back? We're approaching 20 years.
It's coming up fast and furious, so it's certainly something that we'd be open to. And, Commissioner Manfred came out. There'll be a bidding process. And, they've already announced, obviously, San Diego's next year.
How does the NL get 2 straight?
Well, they got more than 2 straight. It's because it goes San Diego, Cincinnati, San Diego, Miami, and then Washington.
Oh, come on. That's ridiculous.
So they've removed the every other year, but what they're talking through and it's going to be unique to see what they do in San Diego's if they'll make the American League the home team.
I'm curious to see
So,
that, because if it's going to be 4 years,
it doesn't really matter because American League keeps
they
knocking
keep
the
finding
NL
ways.
off, but
And you know where it all started.
start right here.
Right here, Sandy Alomar of Sean Estes. I still remember the pitcher, too.
Yeah.
And I was there the day before for the Home Run Derby. And that was one of the most fun experiences I ever had in my life. Unfortunately, that sort of got away, but I think it's back. And a lot of people said this. It is much more entertaining than the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Which, that is a huge statement for the Home Run Derby. And I think baseball is slowly making a comeback into the popularity. I think it's already been there, but I think with LeBron and all these superstars in basketball and football being football, baseball is sort of taking a back seat a little bit. But I think it's slowly coming back. But I'm going to ask you one more question, because I argued this. And LeBron James got the ESPY for best playoff performance, championship performance. I argue that is the worst decision they could have made. The correct winner was Madison Bumgarner last year. You look.
He was a finalist. He was in it, and
now you saw the World Series. I don't think I had ever seen any dominance like that. They had no answer. So, were you watching it all a little bit?
The ESPYs or
the World Series?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
what's going through your mind? Because as a fan, you're watching your division rival lose in the World Series, so that's probably part of like, yes, they're gonna lose. But you're seeing back in the part that I was thinking about in Game 7 was it? Yeah, it was Game 7. I'm like, I'm watching greatness. You're never gonna see this again. The closest thing we've had in comparison to that in a World Series game was Bob Gibson. I don't even count Tom Glavine.
well, Don Larson, of course, had the perfect game.
Well, most recent.
Yeah. Obviously, you and I did not see that in action, so only seen highlights.
I didn't see Tom Glavine either, but those umpires, man, that Strickland was what, 95?
Yeah, we won't go there.
Yeah. I love how Swisher's first game was at the celebration. I love how it was that. And then Bobby Cox even says, oh, Cleveland had a great hitting team, but our pitching was just so good. I'm like, no, the umpires were just so lenient towards you. Because Hargrove said it best. We were the most disciplined hitting team in the league. We knew what balls and strikes were, and I've seen the videos. We're not going to even I just go, when I was at the World.
Topic for another day.
When I was at Cooperstown last year, I looked at that championship ring by Atlanta. I saw our pennant ring. I'm like, that's our ring, son of guns. I sort of looked away from the Marlins when that sort of ate at me. And I was like, that's ours. That's ours. But it doesn't matter. And one of the things you said about someone you're talking with my mother is that he actually broadcasted a game. I have a video that I'm working on getting transferred from VHS from the Fancast booth, which I think you guys need to bring back. I think that was a great thing if we can find the right market for it and the right place to put it. But I've listened back to it. And and I'm even saying it to Mark, because if you want a future broadcaster, you're going to be saying to yourselves one thing. He's 10. It's the day after his 10th birthday. There's no way a 10-year-old's doing what he's doing. Because I'm listening to myself, I'm like, this can't be me at 10.
Just don't listen to your dad in the background.
Yeah, just don't listen to my dad in the background, because he sort of walked in going like, I'm letting you control. And the Mariners had a big inning that game. That was the game that turned our 2000 season around. I was unbiased. When Carlos Guillen hit that home run, I actually put emotion. I'm like, really? All right, kid, you're doing a good job. Your team now doesn't have the lead. But guess what? You're fine with it. You're announcing a game.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to send that to you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it at least and say, okay, maybe he doesn't know just all about baseball operations. Hey, Tom, we got a successor for you. So, yeah. And Tom Hamilton and I have had some good talks. His son played at Avon Lake.
Yeah.
They played Brecksville. And I don't know if I told you this story, but he came up into our press booth one day, which we had, and I was running the scoreboard, stood right behind us for an inning, and I whispered to my buddy, I think that's Tom Hamilton behind us. And he was like, why would you ask? For 3 innings, me and Tom are talking, and my buddy's writing the scoreboard
That's
instead.
pretty cool.
So, and he was on his way to go to New York when we played the team we're playing tonight. And I believe if we sweep tonight, first time in 45 years, I
Yes.
heard.
Yep. 1970.
Go down there. Tell the guys that Impossible means
I don't even
impossible.
We'll just let them keep doing what they're doing.
Okay,
Don't need to intervene.
Okay, you want to? That's a better idea.
We'll tell them after the game.
Yeah.
We'll tell them after the game that, you want to know what? We swept the Yankees. That was impossible for 45 years. We're 4.5 back. We're coming back. We're going to get the wild card. Why not?
That's the beauty of the game of baseball.
Exactly. More reason why people need to come to the stadium. Still got great deals on seats. I mean, I know I got to get out to one more at least. And I know I need to get down to AA because there's a certain center fielder there who's just killing it. And hopefully another player is going to be coming up too.
Yep.
So future's bright here. 2016, if it doesn't happen this year, hey, we've got bright future. But if it happens this year, hey, what a heck of a story this is going to be. We're in a wild and crazy roller coaster ride in the next month or so. So
Buckle up, Alex.
Yes,
Buckle up.
exactly. So, Curtis, thank you for joining myself and my mother. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to you at the end of the season. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to Mark as well, get his thoughts at the end of the season. So
Fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
We appreciate it.